The Republic's clone troopers were all pretty elite thanks to a combination of their genes, their equipment, and their training. But as clone commandos and ARC Troopers show, there were indeed high levels of elite to which Jango Fett's spawn could be raised. The Kaminoans, of course, were concerned about stability when they decided not to move past ARC Troopers. But what if they had no such reservations? In this video, we'll be discussing that scenario.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Kaminoan training sought to make the clones into perfect soldiers, but because of the Kaminoans' view of what perfect soldiers were, this meant that their full potential was somewhat suppressed. Clones were made more droid-like and were engineered to be subservient. However, the Kaminoans did in fact experiment with clones that weren't, clones that were essentially pure Jango Fett. However, they deemed this experiment a failure, and their next attempt at independent clones was closely watched and slightly tampered with. We're talking, of course, about the Null class ARC Troopers. Fans of Karen Travis, doubtlessly, are familiar with them, and we've done a separate video focusing on them in the past. The Nulls were highly independent to the point of insubordination, but they were also highly skilled, especially under the guidance of Cal Skirata. They ultimately proved to be an asset for the Republic, though they deserted during the first days of the Empire. Like the Alpha class ARC Troopers, Nulls were highly skilled and capable of serving as tanks on the battlefield. They were also very intelligent, capable of forming complex strategies that were just as good as those formed by former Republic tacticians. But unlike the Alphas, the Nulls didn't really have much loyalty to the Republic, or to anyone really. Like Jango Fett himself, they were loners, whose only loyalty was only to those they deemed worthy of respect, namely each other and Cal Skirata. The Nulls served in distinction in many missions over the course of the Clone Wars, usually in conjunction with Republic intelligence. Occasionally, they served in frontline combat, though they were more often used for espionage, counter-terrorist missions, and even sabotage missions against the Confederacy. Two of their number even tracked General Grievous during the war and discovered that he was hiding on Utapau in the war's final days. To most people, this would indicate that the Nulls were an unbridled success. The Kaminoans, however, disagreed. The Kaminoans viewed the Nulls as dangerous failures and tried to get them euthanized multiple times. The insubordination that they displayed, combined with their independence, intelligence, and skill, was seen more as a threat than an asset by the cloners, who believed that they weren't controllable and were therefore useless. They maintained this notion even after the Nulls proved themselves on the battlefield, and refused to do any other projects like them for the Grand Army of the Republic. That might have well been for the best, of course, as the Nulls weren't the most stable individuals in the galaxy by a long shot. But while this scenario is probably the best for the Republic, it would certainly have been more interesting if the Kaminoans saw the Nulls as successes and continued their experiments to create clones that were utter war machines. If the Kaminoans had gone in the opposite direction with clone mental tampering to make them more independent, then clone tacticians may well have developed if trained properly. Even the Nulls were limited in their independence due to their training. If this wasn't so, they would have been just as strategically capable as Jango Fett was, perhaps even more so with the right training. A good strategist is not to be underestimated, and clones like that could have been invaluable for the Republic war effort. Alternatively, the Kaminoans might have gone more in the direction of the Bad Batch, specifically in the direction of Wrecker. Strength and skill were other reasons why the Null clones were feared by the Kaminoans, after all, but if those traits were enhanced, then the resultant clones would have been a sight to behold. Many smaller clone armies were previously documented to have clone berserkers, which were incredibly strong and charged heedlessly into battle, much like Savage Opress. A class of clones like this would have been useful against some of the Confederacy's more heavily armored units. The most interesting scenario to consider, however, is that both of these routes could have been taken. The result would have been true war machines, soldiers that were both brilliant and strong, though it seems to be too good to be true that these traits would both emerge perfectly in specimens. These clone war machines would have been devastating for the Confederacy, though then again, they could have easily become devastating for the Republic as well. Well, those are our thoughts on the clone advancements the Kaminoans were too scared to make, and as per usual, I want to know your thoughts in the comments section below. How far do you think the clones could have gone with their cloning process, and how badass do you think the clones could have gotten? And just before you go guys, make sure you check out all the links in the description below. I've pretty much got something for everyone. If you're a history fan, check out my second history channel. If you're a gamer, check out our Geetsly's gaming network. And if you just want to join a wider Star Wars community, just join our Discords. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.